Hello and welcome to For the Love of Nature, a podcast where we tell you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
And I'm Katy, and it's season 9. Yeah.
9.
But kicking off season 9, we're going to be talking about small but deadly things and how we often associate predator behavior with large creatures of any sort, but nature has its own surprises, and sometimes lethal predators can be found in quite small but deadly little creatures.
Or, just take Katy and I.
Yeah, right?
Examples.
Just tiny, lethal creatures.
Tiny but lethal.
Yeah. Dude, that needs to be on a hat for me. Tiny but lethal.
Tiny but lethal.
I'll definitely get arrested.
With a picture of a praying mantis or something. Yeah. So there's something. Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Gotta write it down.
Writing it down. Yeah.
Tiny but lethal. Because when I'm making stuff, I'm always like, man, what did we do? Okay.
Yeah, what have we talked about?
Tiny but lethal. Praying mantis.
All right. So predators are one of my absolute favorite things to talk about. And I feel like a lot of people like to hear about them.
Mm-hmm.
But like Katy was saying, most people I don't think, predators were thinking sharks and bears and lions.
Big stuff.
And big stuff. Today we're going to talk about the teeny tiny things, which is another passion of mine. I love small things.
I mean, you have a kid. She's tiny.
Yeah. She's so tiny.
She is.
Almost concerningly tiny.
Yeah.
But
she's so adorable. And so you. It's
also tiny but deadly.
Yeah.
Talk about tiny but lethal. That girl, she bit me so hard the other day she drew blood.
Oh my gosh. She's you, though. She's 100% you.
Yeah, her personality, it's striking. It's oh my gosh. And then she even does things. The other day I went to the Spirit of Halloween store with her.
Uh-huh.
She's not afraid of any of that stuff yet. And we went in and she found a Jack Skellington stuffed animal that was as big as she did. So she just picks up his hand and goes, "Hello, how are you?" I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly something that Bob would have done to her, I'm sure.
Right. Oh, goodness. All right,
she's
well.
tiny but lethal.
Well, besides our tiny but lethal mini-me's that we both have, we don't have any nature news other than, again, we say this every season that we're just blown away that we're still here.
That we're back. Yeah.
I would just like to emphasize that Laura and I are both shocked in our abilities.
I was just thinking about it again today because every once in a while, I go through this, I have with all my hobbies, where I'm all right, I think I'm going to have to tell Katy that I'm done because I don't know if I can sustain this much longer.
But here we are again.
I am enjoying this so much.
I know. No, me too. It's one of the things.
But I'm happy.
Yes.
But I'm exhausted.
Yes.
Because it's like a roller coaster of a hobby.
Because it does take time. And I mean, again, pitch for the Curiosity Network. If anybody's thinking about starting a podcast and doesn't know where to start, check us out. But shameless plug. But it is time consuming. There are ways to be smart about it, but it does take time. And the people who approach me,
the outlines, it's literally just trying to coordinate for the two of us.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Schedules, everything.
Time consuming.
Yeah.
It's one thing to do this by yourself and write the outlines by yourself.
Oh
it's
yeah.
Another to be okay, when can you record, and then how many can you record, and when are we gonna it's.
And we're all virtual.
The mental exercise.
And we're all virtual. Yeah. I have to remind people that all the time that Laura and I live on opposite sides of the country, in different time zones. So that could be a little challenging because I mean, and I have so many people that come up to me. They're like, "Oh yeah, I really want to start a podcast." And then you start to really lay it out, the reality of what you need to do to be successful, to see the numbers, to have quality content. And that's when you lose people.
Yeah. And I mean, even I think we've got great quality content. And
we're
seeing, fairly good numbers.
Oh, yeah.
We're not, busting through any records or anything.
Yeah,
and we're still sustaining.
Yeah.
Against probably what most people would do.
Yeah, we're definitely above the average. And the average is simply so low because either most people don't stick with it or it is just they upload content and they give up on it. They just stop and, life catches up because it does take a lot of work. But shockingly, here we are, season 9. What is this? 2.5, 3, almost 3 years?
Yeah,
dude, I have never
2020.
Yeah, I've never kept a hobby this long. Like,
My
consistently?
only one was martial arts was my longest hobby.
I mean, I played soccer, but that was like, that was my life, man. Like, that was
Right.
involved.
Well, right. But that's what it felt like too. Yeah. So yeah, I guess this is my longest like side hobby. Although, okay, one more segue. I was upstairs, and this weekend was our Halloween event at work, and they had like some leftover balloon stuff. Mm-hmm. So I brought home that somebody had made and left behind this like balloon ghost, essentially. Well, Laura's been loving it. She's been making it talk and making it fly around and everything. Well, his head popped, so all that was left was a big long body, and she was a little devastated, but not in tears yet. And then Mama was like, "No problem, I'll just make you a dog." And like I'm like, and I make a balloon animal dog, and Justin looks over and he's like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "Oh, little did you know, one of my random side hobbies, because of course we all have those." Was like for a
balloon
month
animals.
I learned how to make balloon animals.
Yes.
Again, you don't know your ADHD, and then you tell a story like that, and
you're like,
oh right,
there it is. I've done this.
Balloon animal face.
I've done the same thing, decorating a coworker's office for her birthday. We didn't know what to do and went and got balloons, and all they really like, they had like the normal balloons, and I was like, oh, balloon animals, cool. And I grabbed it, and one of my employees that was with me at the time, she was like, do you know how to do anything? We can watch some videos. I was like, she was newish at the time. And I was just like, little do you know, I already know how to do this. I can do all kinds of animals. Like, just step back, just watch the ADHD work. It's fine. Yeah. But this is still consistently one of the longest hobbies. And yeah, it is tough, but I mean, it is, again, it's one of those things that I wish I had so much more time for. Because I do like it, and we'll see. But we're in season 9 so far, and it's shocking, and we're just going to keep kicking out content to you guys as long as we can survive doing so.
Yeah, that's, I think, essentially what it is. When will the burnout finally kick in? Hopefully not for a while longer.
Yeah.
Okay, I was really excited to do this episode because I already had some animals in mind.
Okay.
So, first off is the world's deadliest cat. And it's the black-footed cat, which is one of the small ones. Mm-hmm. There's been some, I want to say talk, but I guess like really niche talk. There's been some articles and videos written about this cat that like people who are into nature might have heard about. Okay, just a little bit about who is the black-footed cat, and then we'll talk about why they're an amazing predator. So, black-footed cats can be found in grasslands, scrublands, and the deserts of Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa.
Okay, now I know what cat you're talking about. Okay.
Picture an adorable, tiny little cat. They're the smallest cat in Africa and one of the smallest in the whole world. By small, I mean they're only 8 inches tall and anywhere from 2 to 5 pounds.
Oh, dang.
Oh, tiny. They have a golden coat with dark brown to black spots, some stripes, and a few other dark markings, kind of like leopardish looking. With a white belly, chest, and chin. Their tail's only about a half as long as they are, and their name comes from the fact that their paw pads are black to help them to not get burned on the desert.
Oh, makes sense.
Black-footed, but you will only ever see that if they lift their foot up and wave at you.
So if they're just walking normal, you're gonna be like, I have no idea why this is called a black-footed cat. I have no clue. Yeah, and then it just waves at you.
Leopard.
It just waves. It's like, there we go.
Right.
Yeah.
They are a nocturnal species, and they are vulnerable as far as population, which is unfortunate. But what makes them an amazing predator? Well, they're carnivores that eat a wide range of prey, though mostly that's mammals. And they have to eat a lot of stuff because their metabolism is crazy high, making them have to eat nonstop, and that equates to about 1/5 of their body weight each and every night.
Oh, geez.
So if they're 5 pounds, they have to eat a pound of food a night, which is actually like a lot of mice.
Yeah.
Fun fact, the average mouse weighs around like 25 grams. So.
Jeez. Okay.
It'd be a lot of mice. And to find that food, they're ranging around 8.5 kilometers per night.
That's really, for how tiny they are, that's
they're
far.
so tiny, and they're booking it.
Just running around looking for mice.
They're so cute. They've got 3 hunting techniques. So it's not like they're just ambush predators or they're just chasers like a cheetah. They've got a variety of ways, which is probably what makes them so successful. First is they're sit and wait, which is typically by a burrow of some kind of rodent. They're literally just do the little cat loaf where they like tuck their paws in at the front and then just shut down and just wait there. Sometimes they don't even have their eyes open, but their ears are constantly moving and they're just waiting for the mouse and then boom, get it. The other thing is the fast hunt, which is when they flush out prey and they just trot through the grass like really fast and really low because they're always like slightly crouched because they get eaten by other things. So they're like slightly crouched, booking it, making the birds and stuff fly out of the grass for them to catch.
Well, yeah, that's probably why they move so like such a long distance at night because they're like
just going and going and going.
Yeah, they have to keep going or else they're going to be eaten too. Like
very true.
Yeah.
And then the slow hunt, which is like stalking and winding their way through the grass, slower than flushing, but like think like typical cat behavior where they're like stop. Stop, you know, like when they're like one with the shadows. But the way they can like, they basically just turn into a liquid and like wind their way through the grass without moving the grass. Like they're just like a liquid. They can climb trees to find food. They can jump 1.5 meters into the air to catch birds, which is crazy when you're only 8 inches tall.
I don't have that vertical leap at all.
No, heck no, not ratio-wise. And they have a few adaptations to help them be such a successful hunter. The hair on their feet that protects them from the sand also, I'm sure, helps to keep them quiet. They have really large, round ears to give them enhanced hearing, as a lot of desert animals do. And they have really big eyes that gives them vision 6 times better than humans.
Jeez.
So, all great when you're a hunter. They eat about 3,000 mice per year. So, tiny little murder machine. And they can eat prey larger than they are. They're known to steal prey from other predators and can even defend themselves from jackals, which is impressive when you're only an 8-inch tall cat.
Yeah. Dang.
But they've been seen, like, chasing off a jackal that was trying to eat them. They are the deadliest of felines, with a success rate of 60%, which is a lot. So that is how often are they pouncing and how often are they getting something. So a lion, 25% success rate. 1 out of 4 times do they actually get their food.
Which is so disappointing.
60%. Oh my gosh, right? Like, I would be so disheartened as a lion. I'd be like, no, I can't deal with this disappointment. I'm so hungry.
Laura gives up being a lion day 1. I'm done.
I'd be too hungry to keep trying. No, these guys, they eat, so with that 60% success rate, they are doing it so much. They're eating 10 to 14 meals per night. They're eating like crazy. Once, like every 45 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. Like, that's nuts. And if you're like, wow, I really want to know about these cats some more, PBS Nature had a mini-series called Super Cats, and there's like a whole episode devoted to them, so you can see all the footage of their different hunting techniques and how freaking adorable they are. So yeah, black-footed cats, nature's deadliest feline.
Cool. Well, the 2 that I focused on are kind of in the same, like, deadly category, because I don't know why. I was just looking up stuff, but I picked both that have to do with venom, because why not? All right, so my first one that I'm going to focus on is the blue ring octopus, because they are very tiny. And
yes, they are. Yeah, like surprisingly so. Remember when didn't we do like
an octopus? Well, I mean, we've talked about we've talked about octopus,
and we talked about how like somebody said that the most octopuses are like really small, and it's only like the giant Pacific. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody thinks of octopuses as being like the size of a giant Pacific octopus.
Yeah, all the time. No,
of them are not.
Are very small. Yeah. Well, these guys are pretty neat, and so they measure between 5 to 8 inches. Now, remember, that's like tentacle to tentacle. You know what I mean? So 5 to 8 inches. Body. Yeah, that's like, and like stretching his little armies out here. Right? I mean, not brutally. You're not ripping his arms off.
I was thinking, that was an awe of cuteness. I was just thinking about how little they're, like, basically just like a giant butterfly. Oh, yeah, no, it's like one of those stretchy men.
Yeah. Stretch Armstrong. But even though they're really small, I mean, they are deadly. And that's kind of what they're known for. So they're found around the waters of Australia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Japan. Yeah, of course, everything. It's got to somewhere. Australia's got to be in there. Usually in rocky crevices and coral reefs. They have a diet primarily consisting of small crustaceans, crabs, and shrimp. They're known for their complex mating behaviors, as most octopuses are. And they have clutches of eggs that number between 50 to 100, which is a lot. But I guess if you're that little, you want a pretty high success rate, you know? Yeah. So, like most octopuses, these guys are a master of camouflage, blending seamlessly with their surroundings, of course. And the pulsating blue rings that you see is their kind of warning and signaling to, hey, back off. Because even though it can kill, it would rather just not fight at all. Like, if it can avoid it.
The risk of also dying.
Yeah, right? Yeah, because, they can die as well. So the whole thing that we're talking about here is just like their lethality behind it. And so these guys, they are, like I said, they have a potent venom that contains what's called a tetrodotoxin, which is a substance found in pufferfish. So the tetrodotoxin is an incredibly toxic and can lead to paralysis, respiratory failure, and even death in humans.
Because you talked about pufferfish in an episode too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it is pretty cool. Now, there is no known antivenom for a blue ring octopus bite, and that is correct. They do bite, which to me is like, I don't know
I did not think that. I thought they were like a jellyfish.
Nope.
Even though that doesn't make sense, because of course they don't have nematocysts. Yeah. But in my head,
I know. Yeah.
You touched a blue ring octopus and it had
you touched it. No.
Tentacles.
They gotta bite you. Yeah. And so it's gotta, which I'm also like, man, that's gotta be a cute tiny beak. You know what I mean? Like, immediately I'm like, oh, it's so tiny.
Or like, it probably wouldn't hurt that much when it bit you.
Oh, no, it does.
Bam.
Yeah,
you know,
no.
But I mean, like, that little beak shouldn't hurt that much.
Yeah, no, it's apparently they were saying, of course, the venom is going to hurt, but everything that I was finding says that, like, the bite from the beak itself, like, hurts. Like, that hurts, too. So what is a tetrodotoxin, whatever it is? TETRODO toxin. So it is a potent neurotoxin, so neuro brain, and it's a substance that targets and affects the nervous system. Like I said, neuro. And it's found in several species of marine and terrestrial animals, like I said, including pufferfish. This particular one, including pufferfish. And
I think you talked about pufferfish in the venom episode that we did.
Maybe, yeah. And even some amphibians have this. So this toxin is particularly infamous for its ability to block the voltage-gated sodium channels in nerve cells, which effectively halt the transmission of nerve impulses. And so that's terrifying to me, because if you really like break that down, voltage-gated sodium channels, whatever, but they effectively halt the transmission of nerve impulses. For anybody who's listened to any of our things, Laura and I have talked so many times about how crazy it is, how our bodies are controlled by like hormones and just little volts of electricity. And it just stops that.
It shuts it down.
Yeah. It just stops that. That's just terrifying to me. That has to be one of the worst.
What an amazing thing if we could harness that for like nerve blocks for people who are having like horrific pain. Like if you could just stop it. Just stop it.
Just stop.
But like localized. Yeah.
Yep. So when introduced into the human body, typically, again, through the ingested, let me back up. Most of the time when people are affected by this, we talked about this with the pufferfish, it's most of the time it's ingested because they eat it in food, and they're eating a pufferfish or they're eating something and they don't either get the venom sac out or whatever and eat it. And so it can lead to a range. I already gave a few symptoms, but a few of the other symptoms are, like I said, paralysis, the numbness, respiratory failure, and in severe cases, just you're going to die because of all those other things. You can't breathe, nothing. Now, the tetrodotoxin found in the blue ring octopuses is not produced by the octopus itself, but rather it is synthesized by symbiotic bacteria living within the octopus's salivary glands.
Stop it.
Yeah. So these bacteria are thought to be responsible for the production of the toxin, which the octopus then stores and delivers through the venomous bite. now, like, again, it's a symbiotic, and so it's a dual ratio of, like, the octopus needs the bacteria needs the octopus. But what I found interesting, and I guess, I don't know, I feel like we talked about it in our venom one, but again, you have so much useless knowledge in your brain. Sometimes you forget things that, like, most venoms aren't one substance. It's made up of, like, many different components, because it's, like, it's not, so, like, for this guy, for this toxin, I should say, this venom, it's not just the tetrodotoxin. Like, it's not just that. That happens to be what the majority of it is, but that's not all of it. So I started going down a rabbit hole about venom, as I do, and about just random things. And and again, I need to do more research onto this, but I want to know why, because if it's a neurotoxin, it's almost like that animal creates more of, like, the neurotoxin. So it's like, okay, so if it's bits and pieces, can it be like a mix, like a cocktail of venom? Or does it all have to be, one and the same kind of thing?
I think having a cocktail makes sense, though, because, like,
you would think.
Your bets. Like,
yeah, but it doesn't seem to be there yet. So it's like, from an evolution standpoint, are we going to get there? Which is terrifying to think about. So anyway, so due to the extreme toxicity and the lack of the antidote, the tetrodotoxin poses obviously a significant health risk if it wasn't so elusive. So even though it has a specialized beak, which is hard and can puncture the skin to inject the venom, it just rather would stay away from people and rather than eat it. So some other just little tidbits about the blue ring octopuses. They are doing some research on it, but most of the research so far that I was finding that has been done has been more so not so much for the human medical benefit of it, but more so of the understanding the evolution side of venom to figure out where we've been, to see where we're going, to see how other animals think to eventually get to an anti-venom. And so they are studied a good bit, and I'm assuming it's because of their small size and they have a venom. So, like, you can keep them, in fairly small tanks. They're fairly common. And so, they do a good bit of research on it, but nothing too, I don't know. I still have a lot of questions, but.
Yeah. Well, I just see videos of people, like, holding them, and everyone's like, they're so stupid. And I always figured it's because if you touch their skin.
Nope, it's the bite. Yeah, no. So, I mean, it's just kind of like anything.
So just don't make them mad.
Yeah, just don't piss it off. I mean, and again, do not go out and pick one up. But it's the same thing, like, look at zoos. Like, we've handled tarantulas all the time, and they can fling their hairs. But if you know what to do and how to handle it, not so bad.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend it, because you could just pick up an octopus that has just had a really crappy day and just was going to bite the crap out of you. There are more and more pharmacological research projects that have been going on with these guys, but I couldn't really find a ton of information, because, like you had mentioned about pain management, other drug developments, and understanding different neurological disorders because of how it travels through the system, and seeing like how it affects and how it's made, how it's generated. So they are studying these guys a lot. It's just, again, it's like one of those things that I don't want to say it's under studied, because it is being studied. It's just, I mean, it's an octopus funding. That's kind of what it kind of comes down to and stuff. So anyway, that is the blue ring octopus, a little bit about him.
So cool. Also, I just love every time we always do these episodes, and I'm always like, I'm always going to be surprised by the animals you choose, but then I'm always surprised that no matter, like, a lot of the times we approach these things completely differently. Like, like deadly predators. Sure, they're a predator, but also they're deadly because they're venomous. Whereas I'm just like, they're really freaking efficient.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a funny difference. Okay, so speaking of efficient, my last one is the most efficient predator on planet Earth. It's got the highest success rate of any predator, so in my opinion, it's the best predator. And it's the dragonfly. Which is so cool. I already know a lot about dragonflies because I think they're interesting, but again, I always learn more when I do these episodes. So a little bit about dragonflies. They've been around 325 million years, so they have their crap figured out.
You gotta figure, they were way bigger. They were way bigger back then.
And it only makes sense that they would have, like, really figured out this predator thing, since they've had millions of years.
Right.
There are 3,000 species, and they live on every continent except Antarctica. And you'll always find them near fresh water because their life cycle, they have to lay their eggs in water. How do they look? Picture a long body with 2 pairs of narrow wings. The hind ones are typically smaller. So they're not like a butterfly. Instead of having, they don't have, 2 big, voluminous wings.
I was like, I'm so excited for this description. I don't know where she's going.
Yeah. They have
voluminous wings.
Voluminous wings. They have 2 pairs of narrow wings. Their wings are generally transparent, but they can have markings on them. They have giant compound eyes, and they can be all different colors. And like I said, they do go through a life cycle, which I'm not going to go into, but will come up in a minute. Okay. How and why are they amazing predators? Because they are built to be a predator, but they have some crazy adaptations. What I did not know is that when they're in the water, so they lay the egg and then they turn into an aquatic larva, and they can be in there for like 1 to 3 years.
I hate species that can do that because I feel like we as humans got ripped off just like going from the womb.
Having like a different life cycle.
Yeah. Like we could have been so much cooler, but
a variety.
Yeah. Right? No.
Well, I knew that these guys like were predators in the water and could eat things.
Mm-hmm.
What I didn't know is they had extendable jaws like alien.
Wait, what?
Or like an eel. Yeah. Yeah. You should look up a video of it eventually.
Okay.
Somebody's got it. And it's like, it's not like alien and that they're coming, or like an eel where it comes out.
Yeah.
It's basically like praying mantis arms flipped upside down underneath of them. So the jaw is on a giant whoosh hinge that stabs and pulls in.
That's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Like if you were the same size as that thing, holy crap.
Yeah.
So extendable jaws. And
now again, okay, hold on, let's pause here. You don't hear anybody about being a mascot of a dragonfly, and that sounds terrifying to me.
Right.
Continue.
Aquatic larva. I mean, everything about them is pretty creepy looking.
You're right.
Also, even better, that would be great for a mascot, is that they're the only known insect that has jet propulsion.
What?
So, other animals, I guess other non-insects, like, probably like some, like shrimp and things like that. Anyway, they pull water in their anus and then shoot water out of their anus really fast.
I keep my statement that humans could have evolved to be so much cooler. We need, excuse me, God, we need jet propulsion butts. Please put that on the list.
Anus. Yes, but can you imagine too, like you're just like a tiny little, I don't know, what would you be? A water penny, another type of aquatic insect. Minding your own business, when all of a sudden this giant predator comes jet propelling towards you.
From its butt.
Shooting out of its anus. Yeah. And then its extendable jaws just stab you and pull you into the ball.
So terrifying and amazing at the same time. That's my new fun fact. Did you know that dragonflies jet
propelling anuses?
That's my new favorite fact. That's my new favorite fact.
So the horror doesn't end there. When they're adults, they're even better predators. So they.
I'm so excited to see how you think you can top that.
Okay, well you're right. They don't have jet propelling anuses, but they're just better at being predators. So they come out of the water for their final molt, and then they get their wings, and so now they can fly around. They now have compound eyes that are basically like having 2 giant tennis balls on your head. They can give you nearly 360-degree vision, but there's like a teeny tiny blind spot right at the back or front. They are some of the fastest insects, with some being able to fly up to 30 miles per hour, which is intense.
Yeah. I was going to say, that's got to be so fast for them. Like, in the ratio?
Didn't we learn about how, like, that animals perceive speed?
Yes.
Like, right? Didn't we talk about once how squirrels perceive how fast they're going?
Yeah. There's that,
70 miles an hour or something?
Yeah, there's that website. Go ahead and keep talking, and I'll see if it's on there.
Okay, yeah. Once a dragonfly, how does it feel going 30 miles an hour? I'm just imagining them as little jet fighter pilots, since they're already used to jet propelling. So, just, like, their little goggles on, just through the air. But the coolest thing about the dragonflies, no, there's two really cool things. One is that they have independent
wait, got it. Now this one says that the top speed is 18 miles an hour, which again, this is like, I don't know. It's like a non-secure website and everything, so take it with a grain of salt. But it says that the top speed, if the top speed was 18 miles an hour, that feels like 279 miles an hour for the dragonfly.
We'll double that because it
double that. So 400, almost 500 miles an hour. Just this little face like just
there's nothing but speed.
Yeah.
I am the speed. So they have independent control of their fore and hind wings, which doesn't sound that interesting, but it gives them absolute precision flying capabilities. So because they can move the fronts apart from the backs, they can go forward, backward, up, down, hover, like they're like a little helicopter.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Except faster about being able to change things. And they just have insane maneuverability, and studies have even been done showing that they can lose a wing and still have that kind of hunting capabilities.
I thought you were, for a split second, I thought you were going to say they could lose a wing, like from flying. I was like, 500 miles an hour, I wouldn't blame them.
Maybe. Can you imagine running into a gnat at 500 miles an hour?
Yeah.
That's shredded. But no, I actually think what's the coolest thing, besides how fun it would be to fly like that, because that is something you can take the jet propelling anus any day. I'll take the independent wing movements.
Listen, I will always have a conversation starter.
I've never really been a person that was like, what would your superpower be? Flying or pretty much anything else. But if I could fly like that,
yeah, that is pretty neat.
I'll take that kind of flight. But they are really smart. So they have done a whole bunch of studies, and you can actually look up some of these like videos and journals. It's amazing. I kind of want to be a person who studies dragonflies. But they have found out that dragonflies, first of all, aren't just like chasing insects around. They are actually ambush predators, because the way they hunt, they come from below and behind and then bam onto the insect, which is cool.
Sneak attack.
Sneak attack. And then they're so good at sneak attacking because their tiny little insect brains can predict trajectory. So
what?
They intercept. They're not chasing, they're intercepting.
Jeez.
So they can predict their speed, and they match speed. Like, they have shown that whatever speed their prey is flying, dragonfly matches that speed. What they think is happening is that they're seeing an insect in one of their facets on those crazy eyes, and as long as they keep it in that facet, they will intercept, just like, we
like a lock-on target.
We're going to run into something.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to run into something, they do the same thing. So they know that they're going to run in.
That's awesome.
To whatever they're hunting. And they're aerial hunters. So, of course, yes, they're flying and they're hunting, but, like, they're catching it and eating on the wing. They don't land to do stuff. So,
yeah.
It's even, like, I just can't imagine, like, those bigger predators have, like, nothing on them. Like, if you were a wolf, then, okay, sure, can you chase down something? Yeah. But can you eat it, like, while flying and don't drop it?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, you figure, too, I mean, because they are so small, they've had to, like, adapt to the extreme, because it's not just, like you said, it's not just hunting. It's hunting, surviving themselves, because they are also the prey.
They're also being hunted.
Yeah.
And they can eat, because they're eating on the wing, some predators, I guess the black-footed cat, can eat things bigger than them. They can't do that because they have to still be able to fly, but they can do something 60% their size, which is respectable.
Yeah.
Because some of those dragonflies can still get a pretty decent sized wingspan of, like, more than 6 inches. Okay, so with all of that being said, all of their adaptations, all of their crazy hunting techniques, it leads them to be the most successful predator, at least of one that humans have researched. Maybe there's something else out there, and maybe we'll find that out. But as of right now, dragonflies are 95% successful.
That's insane.
They, like, basically never miss. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was talking about this with someone at work the other day. Okay, maybe it's also because what they're hunting is, like, dense like when you're hunting mosquitoes or gnats, there's a cloud of them.
True.
Okay? So
yeah.
maybe it's harder to miss.
They're just
And
gonna
they're
fly
small.
into the masses and hopefully they catch one.
Mouth open. Like, but there is like some thinking going on. I don't know. 95% is
that's
like,
crazy.
Wowzer.
Yeah.
And the people who were doing the research on these, like to see if they were matching speed, Katie, first they were taking them and just like having them in a tent chasing bugs. Then they basically, you know how there's like chase lines for cheetahs?
Yeah.
Or like greyhounds? They basically made those for dragonflies.
Oh my gosh.
A clear bead. And they basically a dragonfly will hunt anything that moves, essentially. Because they have great movement vision, but not like clear vision. So they were like,
well, yeah, it doesn't need to be clear whenever you're moving 500 miles an hour. It's all going to be a blur anyway.
Something's moving and it can fit in my mouth. I'm going for it. But yeah, they just had these beads on strings that they could like, depending on the way they would move the string, it wouldn't have to be straight. It could be zigzag. Like they were making like crazy bead patterns.
That's crazy.
These things were chasing. Just making little teeny tiny zip lines for dragonflies.
Yeah, right? That's cool.
World's best predator.
That is neat. That is neat. This one is not as cool as far as speed factor goes because the second one that I'm going to be talking about is a slow loris. So it's literally...
Also, are they a predator?
I mean, technically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, technically. So we're going to be talking about slow loris. So they're from, I mean, okay, to be fair, it's not really considered prey. And they do go after stuff. I mean, the prey as far as the venom goes is where I'm coming with this from.
Oh,
Gotcha. All right, so they're found in tropical rainforests of Southeast Asia, found typically in countries like Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and they've adapted to the variety of forest habitats from dense rainforests to even more open woodlands. Now, the slow loris, they're known for, obviously, this is all about small things, so they only get to be about 6 to 10 inches in length and weighing from about 50 to 900 grams, give or take. And their small stature allows them to navigate tree canopies with remarkable agility. Now, for diet, slow lorises primarily feed on a variety of diet that includes insects, small vertebrates. They also can do tree sap, fruit, nectar, that kind of stuff. So their specialized teeth are adapted for this diverse diet with sharp incisors for gouging tree bark and tree sap and specialized comb-like molars for grooming and extracting insects from fur. So, I mean, can be from their own.
Its own parasites. Ugh.
I mean, that's convenient whenever you're a slow loris.
Yeah.
yeah, it is efficient. All right, so I said that, they're slow, deliberate movements and largely nocturnal lifestyle because they are active at night. If you guys have never seen them, I mean, I don't even know how to describe them. They have huge, buggy eyes, like just huge eyes. They're tiny, small, brown. I don't know. You look like you could cuddle it, but you shouldn't.
But
yeah, kind of slothish. Yeah.
Like a sloth
but like
and
huge
a
eyes.
Baby. Yeah.
But I mean, that's pretty accurate. Sloth and a lemur. So now the interesting part of them, like I said, the last one I talked about had venom. This one too, also venomous. And I think now this one, I feel like even though the blue ring octopus was studied a lot for venom, I feel like this one, I came across so much research on slow loris venom, but I feel like it's because people were just, I don't know, fascinated with it because it's so shocking, almost like surprising.
Yeah. Venomous mammals are so rare.
Yeah.
And people are obsessed with having these things as pets and probably want to know about their venomous.
Which is so stupid. I'm going to talk a little bit, just like I did with the other one, go into a little bit about the venom that they have. So like Laura said, there are very, very, very few mammals known to produce venom. And their venomous bite, again, it should not be underestimated. Now, the venom that they secrete is not neurotoxic like that of snakes or like the other ones I've talked about, which paralyze their prey. Instead, it contains a complex mixture of proteins and peptides that serve various purposes. So this one kind of is more like a cocktail. But one of the key components of their venom is a protein known as Nitisibus conguang venom. And it comes from their gland. Yeah. Otherwise known as NCVGT. Now, when someone is bitten by a slow loris, again, it is the venom part of it. They do use it to kill prey, but it is this, for the most part, is more used for a defense. But I mean, for the octopus, it kind of is too. They may experience a range of side effects people-wise, but it's important to note that the slow loris venom is not, again, like a neurotoxin like we talked about. However, most of the time whenever you're bit, you have the localized pain, swelling, because it just sucks, redness. A lot of people apparently are allergic to them. Yeah. Which again, I was reading, like, I'm allergic, or was allergic to poison ivy and things like that, but apparently, like, there's a high rate of being allergic to a slow loris, and I'm like...
Overlap?
What?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say overlap between people who are allergic to poison ivy and people who are allergic to lorises. And I was like,
dang. No, but they are allergic, and they end up having more symptoms from their allergic reaction to the bite and then the venom than what they do the actual venom itself. But in more severe cases, because it has a lot of hemotoxin properties, it can lead to necrosis and...
sounds a lot like the copperhead. Because the copperhead, they say, actually you're more likely to die from your allergic reaction to it than it. And it's hemotoxic.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a lot with hemotoxins, because you figure you can get like sepsis, infections. There's all kind, like, neurotoxins are terrifying because they
shut you down.
Yeah, it shuts your body down. But hemotoxins are, because a lot of times that does, like we're talking about, it affects like your symptom or your skin, and so you end up having like a wound that ends up being open and gaping, and it just ends up necrosis and just gets disgusting. Now, the venom itself is generated in specialized glands located near their elbows, and when threatened, slow lorises lick or rub their venom onto their upper incisors, mixing it with their saliva. So it's intentional. Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
well, and that's like all those videos of people tickling slow lorises, and when they get stressed, they put their arms up. Yeah. Probably, so they're ready to lick those elbows.
Yeah, right? To lick them to, like, get ready. But yeah, so then
they evolution thing to develop glands near your elbows that are just a convenient spot to like
lick. I mean, it would make sense though, because if
you're hanging,
yeah,
so your elbows are probably by your face a lot.
Yeah,
but I just think it's like a funny place.
But I wonder what would be the reasoning for not just having it in your mouth all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so like I said, agonizing pain, severe allergic reaction oftentimes.
You know what? It's probably an accident evolution thing. You know, like
it could be.
Probably had glands there all the time, like scent glands, and then all of a sudden something weird happened and they started producing venom, and some of them were like, they survived because they started biting things and never dying. You know what I mean?
And never dying.
Like, it was probably like an accidental, not like they evolved the gland and evolved the gland and evolved.
Well, there is a reason though for the gland, and it's not so much like venom as in defense, but it also, besides subduing prey, if it is eating something that's live, their preference for like different gum and sap trees, that venom can actually weaken like the tree bark. So the same thing that like breaks apart your skin and the hemotoxin also weakens the like the sap and everything and like the bark of the tree.
Because trees aren't like us enough.
Yeah, right. Because we need more data to support that.
Like it's
yeah. Yeah, so that ends up making it easier to access. It makes it being able to break down the structure of like the tree, depending on what species it is, whether it's through the bark, whether it's through like the inner, it's easier to access the sap as it's being broken down. And so they think from an evolution standpoint, like that, yes, it was defense. So it's almost like a twofold. I don't know how they got to that point though. Like take a step back in time. Okay, how did that then happen? Like, what was the first step of like, did someone have a cold and then like that hemotoxin is what ended up breaking down the tree sap? So there's a lot of research, like what we were saying. There's a lot of research that goes on with the slow lures just because there aren't very many venomous mammals out there, but it is really fascinating. And again, like most things that can kill us, there's also a lot of possibilities for medical benefits. And so there, again, insights into pain management, drug development, even some allergy research, because again, people are so allergic to these guys, which I've never heard of somebody being like, what are you allergic to? A slow loris? Like, I should just start telling people that.
Live on the wrong continent, though. You know what I mean? Like, maybe more people.
Yeah, I guess so. I wonder if that's like over in Asia. Like, is that something like your medical history?
Poison ivy.
Yeah, right. Or are you allergic to anything? Not poison ivy, but I am allergic to slow lures. But anyway, so it is to me, it's interesting. So they study them a lot. They're doing a lot of medical insights into them just to see and study and figure out what they are. Now, unlike the blue ring octopus, their conservation status is, like most things in Asia, not good. Just because wildlife trade, like Laura was saying, how people keep them as pets. And so, yeah, so hold on, let me look up what they actually are. Oh, no, they are endangered. They are actually endangered. Which, again, I mean, it's Asia, illegal wildlife trade, all that stuff. I mean, I don't know why, besides pets, but there's got to be some medicine or something they think they have. It's got to
be habitat loss, too, because of
Oh, no, it is, yeah. Habitat loss, illegal wildlife trade are the two biggest ones. So anyway, yeah, so scientists are continuing to study them to protect both the slow loris itself and just hopefully understanding, hey, how, if these guys are able to evolve this, kind of how did it start? Where is it going, to understand other creatures? Because things like breaking down tree sap and stuff, I mean, I think that's interesting. I think that's fascinating. Yeah. Because you typically don't think of a venom as doing that. But so that's why whenever you were like, oh, it's not really a predator, I'm like, I mean, its prey is really still, but but it is. I mean, they still use it for insects and things and protection, but it's also like a plant thing too, which I thought was really neat. So anyway, that's a slow loris.
Cool.
All right, guys. Well, if you want to go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter at Footlon Podcast, FTLON Podcast, and interact and reach out to us on there, because we do sometimes post weird things on there.
Yeah, try to get better at it. Again, it's one of those things. Just trying to keep
busy,
up.
Guys. Yeah, we're trying to live life over here.
But definitely tune in next week, because next week's our fun. We always do like a fun, spooky episode, kind of, for Halloween. And I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, it should be really good. All right, guys. Till next week.
Bye.